Title: The Whispering Shadows. Chapter 1. The Old Mansion. The mansion stood at the edge of the town, a relic of a bygone era. Its once grand facade was now crumbling, the paint peeling away to reveal the dark, damp wood beneath. The windows were shattered, and the garden was overgrown with weeds and thorny vines. The townsfolk called it the Whispering Mansion, for it was said that on quiet nights, one could hear faint whispers emanating from within its walls. Eleanor had always been fascinated by the mansion. As a child, she would sit at the edge of the forest and stare at it, feeling a strange pull she couldn't explain. Her parents warned her to stay away, sharing stories of people who had gone into the mansion and never come out. But Eleanor was different, curious, with a stubborn streak that refused to heed warnings. The mansion called to her in a way she couldn't ignore. Years passed, and Eleanor grew up, moving away from the small town. But the memory of the Whispering Mansion lingered like a shadow. Then, one day, she received a legal document informing her she had inherited the mansion from a great-aunt she'd never met. Shocked yet intrigued, Eleanor felt the pull stronger than ever. She packed her bags and returned to her childhood town, determined to uncover the mansion's secrets. Chapter 2. The First Night. The mansion was even more imposing up close. The front door creaked open with a sound like a dying breath. Eleanor stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest. The interior was dark and musty, the air thick with decay. Peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and cracked windows greeted her. But it was the walls that disturbed her most. They seemed to breathe, shifting slightly as if alive. Whispers echoed faintly from within, like voices trapped behind the plaster. She explored room by room, unease growing with each step. The mansion felt like a living thing, its pulse hidden beneath rotting floorboards. As night fell, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. They called her name. Chapter 3. The Shadows. Eleanor spent her first night wrapped in a blanket on an old, dusty couch, too afraid to sleep. The whispers grew insistent, blending into her thoughts. Shadows danced along the walls, shifting in unnatural ways. Then she saw them, figures emerging from the darkness, their features blurred, hollow eyes glowing faintly. Frozen with fear, she watched as they approached, their whispers a chorus of lost souls. Coldness seeped into her bones. Just as suddenly, they vanished. Silence returned, but Eleanor's heart continued to race. She knew she wasn't alone. Chapter 4. The History. Determined to understand the mansion's darkness, Eleanor visited the local library. Old newspapers revealed the mansion's grim past. Built by Samuel Blackwood in the 1800s, it had been the site of tragic deaths and disappearances. Samuel's wife died mysteriously, his children vanished, and he descended into madness. Journal entries hinted at dark rituals and whispers in the walls. The mansion was more than haunted, it was cursed. Each owner met the same fate, driven insane or disappearing without a trace. Chapter 5. The Basement. Eleanor's fear grew, but curiosity drove her to the basement. She descended with a flashlight, the air growing colder with each step. Whispers intensified, forming incoherent pleas. In the center stood an ornate mirror, cracked and tarnished. But its reflection showed more than reality. It revealed Samuel Blackwood's tortured face, his mouth moving in silent screams. A cold hand gripped her shoulder. She turned to face Samuel's ghost, his hollow eyes piercing her soul. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered. Paralyzed with fear, she felt herself pulled toward the mirror, darkness swallowing her. Chapter 6. The Truth. Eleanor awoke on the cold floor, the mirror shattered. She felt drained, her body foreign. On the wall, written in blood, were the words, "You are one of us now." Realization hit. She wasn't the same. The mansion had claimed her soul, binding her to its darkness. Chapter 7. The End. She tried to leave, but the mansion wouldn't let her. Every door led back inside. Days blurred together, whispers filling her mind, until reality crumbled. Eventually, she surrendered. Standing before the mirror, she saw her distorted reflection. Samuel's shadow loomed behind her, welcoming her into the darkness. With a final scream, she stepped through, becoming one with the mansion. Epilogue. The Whispering Mansion still stands, its windows like hollow eyes. The air around it remains cold, filled with faint whispers. It calls to the curious, the lost, drawing them in. No one who enters ever leaves. For the mansion is alive, and it hungers for souls. And the whispers? They're always waiting. The end.